that we were all there as a family.
Kody and Robyn Brown have recently made headlines once again, this time for leaving their Flagstaff McMansion, a home they claimed was too small for family gatherings. On the surface, the story appears simple, a couple deciding to relocate from one large home to another. But a closer look reveals a much more complex and emotionally charged situation. For years, Kody Brown was the self-styled patriarch of a sprawling plural family, a man who built his identity on control, appearances, and the delicate balance of multiple households. Robyn, his fourth wife, has long been portrayed as the charming and devoted homemaker, the visible symbol of stability and decorum in a family that the public has followed with fascination. Their decision to leave the McMansion is, in reality, not about the physical limitations of the house, but about the emotional dynamics and unresolved tensions that have quietly shaped their lives for decades. Observers and family insiders suggest that the mansion was never meant to serve as a gathering place for children and extended family, but rather as a stage for Kody's ego and Robyn's carefully curated image. Unlike Christine and Janelle, whose smaller homes remain open and warm to their children and grandchildren, Kody and Robyn's residence is a meticulously constructed environment that prioritizes visual perfection over human connection, a choice that has left a mark on their family in ways that money and square footage cannot repair. Kody Brown's approach to family life has long been intertwined with a desire for affirmation and authority. In interviews and public appearances, he often appears preoccupied with projecting the image of a successful leader and devoted husband. The McMansion, with its sprawling rooms, multiple entrances, and luxurious yet impersonal design, reflects this pattern. It is less a home than a monument, a tangible representation of a man who once commanded devotion from multiple wives and children, and now seeks to maintain relevance in a rapidly changing personal and public landscape. Robyn's role in this narrative is equally instructive. While she embodies the traditional appearance of a homemaker, her actions reveal a nuanced form of agency. She negotiates the terms of her domestic participation, curates the family image for public consumption, and prioritizes her own emotional stability and interests in ways that Kody cannot fully control. Together, their choices reveal a dynamic in which appearances, status, and approval often take precedence over authentic family engagement. Public reactions to the move have been varied, with some viewers expressing sympathy for the difficulties of plural family dynamics, while others have criticized the Browns for prioritizing ego over meaningful connection. Experts on family systems and relational psychology note that Kody's fixation on appearances and control is a common pattern among individuals who have historically wielded authority in complex household structures. When the foundations of such authority begin to shift, through adult children establishing independence, wives asserting autonomy, or public scrutiny increasing, the underlying insecurities often manifest in behaviors that emphasize self-image rather than empathy. In the case of the McMansion, what might have been an opportunity for family gatherings became a symbol of absence and emotional distance, a place where the echo of one's own voice is more prominent than laughter, conversation, or shared experiences. For Kody's children, the decision to limit visits is telling. Reports indicate that the children's absence from the McMansion is not a matter of insufficient guest rooms, but rather a response to emotional neglect and unaddressed familial strain. While the structure itself could accommodate large gatherings, the relational climate within it does not encourage warmth or authenticity. In contrast, Christine and Janelle have demonstrated that family cohesion is not dependent on square footage or luxury but on effort, sincerity, and accessibility. Their homes, though modest, facilitate connection through open doors, shared activities, and a willingness to adapt to the needs of their children. The lesson here extends beyond the particulars of one family to a broader reflection on the importance of emotional infrastructure in any home. The spaces we inhabit are not merely defined by walls and rooms, but by the quality of attention, care, and reciprocity that occur within them. The narrative surrounding Kody and Robyn's McMansion also offers a profound insight into the psychology of overcompensation and public performance. Kody, in particular, has historically framed his multiple marriages and leadership of the family as a moral and spiritual calling. Yet, as the family structure evolves and personal influence wanes, the theatrical aspects of his presentation become more pronounced. The mansion, with its grandiose dimensions and carefully staged appearances, functions as an extension of this persona. It is designed to impress, to signal success, and to maintain a sense of authority even when the authentic relational bonds that once supported it have weakened. For viewers, this situation offers a cautionary tale about the limits of performance and the necessity of grounding outward appearances in genuine, reciprocal human relationships. Robyn's presence and behavior in this context further complicate the picture. She projects an image of graceful submission and domestic competence, yet beneath the frills and meticulous decoration lies an evident focus on self-preservation. Her carefully curated presentation aligns with traditional ideals of femininity while simultaneously protecting her own autonomy and emotional well-being. The contrast between her public persona and the reality of her family life underscores a broader theme of performance versus authenticity. In this household, as in many others, appearances are carefully managed for the benefit of observers, while the true emotional work required to sustain deep and meaningful relationships remains understated or deferred. Financial considerations also play a critical role in understanding the McMansion saga. The purchase of a multi-million-dollar home in Flagstaff, funded largely through television appearances and real estate transactions, highlights both the opportunities and risks inherent in leveraging media visibility for personal gain. While Kody and Robyn have enjoyed temporary financial advantages, the long-term sustainability of such an approach is uncertain. The couple's reliance on past success and ongoing visibility underscores the broader theme of appearances versus reality, as opulent homes and aesthetic statements mask underlying relational and economic fragility. Experts in financial management and family economics suggest that the long-term stability of any household is more reliably rooted in shared responsibility, realistic planning, and transparent communication than in high-profile displays of wealth or status. The emotional resonance of the McMansion story extends beyond practicalities to the human cost of ambition and ego. The absence of adult children from the home, the carefully staged packing and moving process, and the prioritization of visual perfection over warmth all reflect a pattern in which relational bonds are secondary to image management. Sociologists and psychologists studying family systems highlight that children and partners respond not merely to physical spaces, but to the quality of care, attention, and authenticity within those spaces. The lessons for viewers are clear. No matter how large or luxurious a home may be, it cannot compensate for emotional distance or neglected relationships. True familial legacy is created not through grand architecture or public displays of devotion, but through consistent presence, empathy, and reciprocal engagement. Kody and Robyn's situation also invites reflection on the cultural narratives surrounding traditional family roles and the presentation of domestic life. While Robyn's appearance aligns with idealized visions of a devoted wife and homemaker, the reality is far more complex. Her autonomy, her choices about involvement and visibility, and her subtle assertion of boundaries challenge conventional expectations and invite viewers to consider the diversity of strategies employed by individuals navigating the intersecting pressures of public scrutiny and private life. The tension between appearance and authenticity, between performance and emotional labor, resonates with audiences who observe the household from a distance and provides a lens through which to analyze broader societal pressures on family presentation and gendered expectations. As the Browns settle into new routines and the McMansion becomes a chapter of their past, the enduring lessons of this story remain instructive. A home, no matter how architecturally impressive, cannot substitute for genuine connection. The management of appearances, the cultivation of ego, and the pursuit of control may provide temporary satisfaction or public approval, but they are insufficient to sustain relationships over time. Viewers are reminded that emotional investment, sincere attention, and shared experiences are the true determinants of a household's vitality and cohesion. For those navigating family life, The cautionary tale of Kody and Robyn Brown's McMansion offers a vivid illustration of the consequences of prioritizing perception over presence.
Kody Brown and his family have been at the center of public attention for decades, known first for the prominence of their plural marriage and later for the dramatic unraveling of the family's internal structure. Once regarded as a respected patriarch within the plural family community, Kody's role as a father and husband was long seen as emblematic of leadership and stability in a household built on complex traditions and careful navigation of relationships. Over the years, however, that image has shifted and the narrative surrounding him has become far more complicated and revealing. The man who once commanded devotion and admiration now faces the difficult reality of loss, scrutiny, and the consequences of choices that prioritized ego and control over the emotional well-being of his wives and children. Observers and family insiders note that Kody's struggle is not merely the result of external pressures, but rather a culmination of patterns that emerged over time, shaped by the unique demands of plural marriage, public visibility, and personal ambition. As he navigates the fallout, the contrast between his former authority and his present vulnerability is stark and instructive, providing a window into the human dynamics that underlie high-profile family structures. In the early years of the family's rise to public prominence, Kody was often portrayed as the moral compass and central figure of the household. His multiple marriages were framed as a testament to faith, discipline, and the spiritual responsibilities associated with guiding a plural family. He cultivated an image of stability, leadership, and principled authority, presenting himself as the steady hand capable of balancing multiple households while maintaining unity and order. Public appearances, reality television coverage, and interviews reinforced this persona, casting Kody as a figure whose personal identity was deeply intertwined with his ability to command loyalty and respect. Yet beneath the carefully constructed public image, the emotional dynamics within the household were more nuanced, with signs of tension, dissatisfaction, and unspoken conflict gradually surfacing as the children matured and his wives asserted their own autonomy. As time passed, the combination of personal insecurities, public scrutiny, and the inherent complexities of managing multiple relationships began to reshape Kody's behavior and priorities. Where once faith and leadership were central to his identity, overcompensation and theatrical displays increasingly became tools for managing perception and asserting control. Observers have noted a shift toward performative behavior, where public declarations of love, devotion, and passion were used less as expressions of authentic emotion and more as mechanisms to reinforce status and influence. This shift illustrates a common psychological pattern, in which individuals facing the erosion of authority or admiration seek validation through visibility, exaggeration, or symbolic gestures rather than genuine relational repair. Kody's public statements, social media interactions, and televised interviews during this period often reveal this tension, where the desire to appear confident and commanding masks deep insecurity and frustration with personal and familial realities. The impact of this transformation has been visible both within the family and among the viewing public. Kody's adult children, now capable of independent thought and action, have increasingly chosen to establish their own lives separate from his influence. Wives who once complied with his guidance and authority have asserted boundaries, pursued personal fulfillment, and prioritized emotional well-being over the maintenance of the image he projected. The contrast between Kody's self-perception and the lived experiences of those around him has intensified the sense of isolation and vulnerability, creating a feedback loop in which attempts to reclaim control are met with further detachment. Experts in family systems and relational psychology note that such patterns are not uncommon in situations where authority figures confront the gradual erosion of their influence. The resulting behaviors, including exaggerated self-presentation, performance of competence, and overemphasis on symbolic markers of success, often serve as coping mechanisms rather than solutions to underlying relational challenges. Public reactions have mirrored this internal tension, with audiences divided between fascination, sympathy, and critical scrutiny. Longtime followers of the family have expressed disappointment and concern over the apparent decline in Kody's relational effectiveness, while others have highlighted the educative value of witnessing the consequences of unchecked ego and the prioritization of appearances over emotional labor.
The conversation extends beyond the particulars of one family, touching on universal themes of leadership, accountability, and the delicate balance between public persona and private responsibility. For viewers, Kody's journey offers insight into the human costs of conflating authority with affection, performance with presence, and visibility with influence. The patterns observed provide lessons on the importance of authenticity, humility, and the continuous effort required to maintain meaningful and reciprocal relationships. Emotionally, the narrative of Kody Brown's fall resonates because it highlights the fragility of systems built primarily on perception. A household that once seemed unified and orderly now reveals the consequences of decisions that emphasize self-image over connection. Children's absence from family gatherings, wives' pursuit of personal autonomy, and public commentary all point to the human realities beneath the spectacle of plural family life. Psychologists studying family cohesion note that children respond most strongly to consistent emotional presence, transparent communication, and relational sincerity. No amount of public display, lavish housing, or symbolic gestures can substitute for these foundational elements. In Kody's case, the gap between projected authority and genuine relational engagement has become increasingly apparent, illustrating the risks inherent in leadership that depends on admiration rather than mutual respect and care. Financial and public visibility factors have also shaped the trajectory of Kody's patriarchal power. Television appearances, real estate transactions, and media exposure provided both opportunity and pressure, creating incentives to maintain an image of success and control even as internal family cohesion weakened. The emphasis on outward appearances, large properties, and curated family presentations reinforced a cycle in which perception became more valuable than authenticity. Analysts point out that while such strategies can provide temporary reinforcement of status and influence, they are rarely sufficient to sustain long-term relational health or personal fulfillment. The focus on symbolic measures of success, whether financial, architectural, or performative, often diverts attention from the ongoing emotional work required to maintain functional, resilient family structures. One of the most striking aspects of this narrative is the interplay between performance, ego, and emotional disconnection. Kody's public pronouncements of devotion, leadership, and passion frequently serve as mechanisms to assert control and influence perception, rather than to communicate genuine care. This dynamic has created a household in which appearances are maintained for external observers, while internal relational gaps persist. Wives' subtle negotiation of boundaries and children's pursuit of independence further highlight the consequences of prioritizing projection over engagement. In this sense, the story becomes both cautionary and educative, illustrating the importance of aligning actions with intention, presence with performance, and visibility with meaningful interaction. As Kody navigates the ongoing consequences of these patterns, the contrast between past authority and present vulnerability becomes increasingly evident. The public narrative now emphasizes both the human fragility and the performative tendencies that have shaped the Brown family over the years. For viewers, this provides a rare opportunity to analyze the complexities of leadership within intimate, high-stakes relational systems. The lessons extend beyond the specifics of plural marriage to encompass broader considerations of influence, empathy, and the human need for authentic connection. In observing Kody's trajectory, audiences are reminded that authority and devotion cannot be demanded or manufactured indefinitely. They must be cultivated through consistent, sincere, and empathetic engagement. Emotionally, the audience response has been equally revealing, as viewers oscillate between empathy, frustration, and critical observation. Many longtime followers of the family express a sense of melancholy as they witness the transformation of a man once admired for leadership and charisma into an individual struggling with isolation, diminished influence, and the consequences of past choices. This response underscores the human tendency to identify with figures who embody both strength and vulnerability, highlighting the educational potential inherent in such high-profile case studies. The emotional resonance is deepened by the complexity of plural family dynamics, intergenerational relationships, and the intersection of personal ambition with relational responsibility. In reflecting on the broader implications of this story, several moral and educational takeaways emerge. First, the centrality of authentic engagement over appearance is a critical lesson for families and leaders alike. No matter how impressive or visually commanding a household or organization may be, true influence and connection are maintained through consistent attention, empathy, and reciprocal investment. Second, the consequences of prioritizing ego, control, or public perception over relational health are long-lasting and can lead to profound isolation and vulnerability. Third, the narrative of Kody Brown illustrates the human need for humility, reflection, and the willingness to confront uncomfortable truths in order to repair and sustain meaningful connections. Ultimately, Kody Brown's story is not simply one of failure or critique but of human complexity. The rise and fall of his patriarchal power offer insight into the interplay between authority, performance, and emotional reality, revealing both the possibilities and limitations of influence grounded primarily in perception. It is a story that engages audiences intellectually, emotionally, and ethically, prompting reflection on leadership, family, and the enduring importance of authenticity. In the end, the lessons extend far beyond one household, reminding us all that real authority is earned through presence, care, and the courage to place relationships above ego. The narrative of Kody Brown provides a mirror in which viewers can examine their own approaches to influence, connection, and the ways in which personal ambition can either build or erode the relational foundations that sustain family and community. It is a story of human ambition, vulnerability, and the enduring need for sincerity in the maintenance of trust and devotion, a lesson that resonates in every household, workplace, and relationship where the balance between image and reality is constantly negotiated. Kody Brown and Robyn Brown have recently captured public attention again, this time for their significant investment in a Flagstaff mansion that has sparked both fascination and skepticism among fans and observers. The couple, known for their history in plural marriage and the public scrutiny that comes with reality television, purchased a sprawling home in a city famed for its scenic beauty, high cost of living, and sense of exclusivity. On the surface, the move appeared to be a step toward establishing a luxurious, stable family residence where they could enjoy their golden years. However, a closer look at their financial decisions, the design and functionality of the home, and the ongoing dynamics within their family suggests that the story is far more complex, raising questions about priorities, sustainability, and the interplay between appearances and reality. The Flagstaff property is remarkable not only for its price, but for the extensive space and elaborate decor that define its character. Observers note that the home includes multiple living areas, over-decorated rooms, and features designed more for show than practical use, reflecting a pattern in which architectural grandeur substitutes for functional family spaces. While the Browns have publicly described the house as ideal for hosting family gatherings and long-term comfort, insiders point out that few of their older children regularly spend time there, and the home's design prioritizes spectacle over everyday usability. The overabundance of space, rather than facilitating connection, highlights a recurring tension in the family dynamic, the pursuit of external validation at the expense of intimate, emotionally meaningful experiences. Experts in family psychology suggest that such arrangements, in which material display replaces relational investment, often exacerbate feelings of isolation and prevent genuine connection from developing, a pattern that appears evident in the Browns' experience. Financially, the purchase of a multi-million-dollar mansion in Flagstaff raises questions about sustainability. The couple's ability to acquire such a property is tied in large part to prior real estate gains and continued income from their reality television presence. Past properties, including a McMansion and the Coyote Pass home, were sold at a profit, creating a perception of financial stability. Yet, analysts caution that these gains are often temporary and contingent on factors outside of conventional earning, such as market conditions and media contracts. The mortgage for the Flagstaff property, combined with maintenance costs, property taxes, and the general expense of high-end living in the region, suggests a delicate financial balance, one that may be vulnerable to fluctuations in income or unforeseen circumstances. This precariousness is compounded by the fact that the home's utility as a functional family residence is limited, meaning the investment serves more to project status than to provide tangible benefits to the household's day-to-day life. The emotional context of the move further complicates the picture. Kody and Robyn's decision to remain in Flagstaff appears influenced not only by pride, but also by inertia and a form of emotional dependence rooted in long-standing family patterns. Uprooting to a different location would require substantial effort, disrupt established routines, and force confrontation with the realities of diminished family cohesion. Robyn, in particular, is noted for maintaining a carefully curated domestic environment, including a significant collection of art, dolls, and other personal items, which anchors her to the current residence. The effort required to relocate is therefore not merely logistical but deeply tied to identity, comfort, and perceived control. Family systems experts suggest that in such cases, the interplay of emotional attachment and personal pride can often lead individuals to remain in environments that are financially or relationally suboptimal, highlighting the human tendency to prioritize familiarity and status over adaptability. Public reaction to the Flagstaff purchase has been mixed. Some viewers admire the aesthetic grandeur of the home and the couple's continued presence in a scenic and desirable location. Others question the prudence of investing so heavily in a property whose practical use is limited, emphasizing the gap between appearance and reality. Commentators note that the home functions more as a monument to aspiration than a hub of family activity, with its empty spaces and ornate design serving as a visual representation of values that prioritize image over substance. These observations have prompted broader discussions about financial literacy, the challenges of maintaining lifestyle choices in the public eye, and the ways in which media exposure can shape decision-making in highly visible families. The Flagstaff mansion also serves as a symbol of the broader dynamics at play in Kody and Robyn's household. The children who have reached adulthood are establishing lives independently, highlighting the limits of parental influence once personal agency emerges. Wives who once navigated the household under the guidance of Kody have asserted their autonomy in different ways, and the family's younger members are gradually learning to balance connection with independence. In this context, the home represents both ambition and limitation. It is a space designed for grandeur and status yet constrained by relational realities. The mismatch between the mansion's intended purpose and its actual use reflects a deeper lesson about the limits of external displays in fostering internal harmony and cohesion. From an educational perspective, the situation offers insights into financial planning, emotional intelligence, and the balance between aspiration and sustainability. Purchasing a property of this magnitude requires careful consideration of long-term affordability, the practical needs of household members, and the capacity to maintain a healthy emotional environment. Observers note that relying on temporary gains or external validation to justify large expenditures can create risk and tension, a dynamic clearly visible in the Browns' decision-making. The home's over-decorated spaces and underutilized rooms serve as a cautionary example of how material investment alone cannot substitute for relational investment, and how status-driven choices may inadvertently limit personal and familial growth. Moreover, the Flagstaff property illuminates the intersection of pride and perception. For Kody and Robyn, leaving would mean acknowledging that the grand vision of a perfect family home has not aligned with reality. Staying, on the other hand, allows the continuation of an aspirational narrative, projecting stability, success, and contentment even as relational cohesion is challenged. Social psychologists emphasize that such decisions are rooted in human desires for consistency, image preservation, and emotional comfort. By maintaining the home, the couple upholds a visual story that aligns with past expectations, even if it diverges from the lived experience of everyday family life. Media coverage and expert commentary have further highlighted the symbolic nature of the property. Analysts suggest that the home's grand design, multiple kitchens, and separate entrances function less as practical family infrastructure and more as a stage for observation, reflecting a performative aspect of the household dynamic. While the home's physical presence is undeniable, its capacity to foster meaningful interaction is limited, illustrating a key tension between outward success and internal fulfillment. Audience discussions often focus on this contrast, debating whether the investment reflects ambition, overreach, or a mixture of both, and drawing parallels to broader human tendencies to equate material scale with emotional or social value. Emotionally, the narrative resonates because it combines ambition, attachment, and human limitation. Kody and Robyn's experience demonstrates the challenges inherent in balancing personal desire, family needs, and public expectation. Their attachment to Flagstaff embodies more than geography. It represents identity, pride, and the desire to sustain a narrative of control and achievement. Yet the reality is tempered by the absence of the full family unit and the limits of material investment to bridge relational gaps. This tension highlights the importance of emotional literacy, relational awareness, and the courage to adapt plans in alignment with both practical and emotional realities. The broader implications extend beyond the family to universal lessons about human behavior and decision-making. Material investment, status, and appearance cannot replace authentic connection, careful planning, and relational responsiveness. Homes, like relationships, function best when designed to meet the needs of those who inhabit them, rather than as symbols of aspiration alone. Financial sustainability, emotional presence, and realistic expectations are essential components of long-term stability, a lesson clearly illustrated in the Flagstaff case. Observers note that the interplay of pride, inertia, and perceived obligation can sometimes trap individuals in circumstances that are suboptimal, providing a cautionary tale for audiences in similar contexts. Ultimately, Kody and Robyn Brown's Flagstaff investment serves as a living illustration of both ambition and limitation. It reflects a desire to achieve a vision of grandeur while simultaneously revealing the fragility of that vision when confronted with financial, relational, and emotional realities. The mansion, while impressive in scale and appearance, underscores the importance of aligning aspiration with practicality, image with substance, and investment with relational intention. As the couple navigates their continued presence in the home, the lessons for viewers are clear. Wealth and space alone do not guarantee fulfillment, emotional connection, or sustainable success. In conclusion, the Flagstaff property stands as both a monument to vision and a reminder of human limitation. Kody and Robyn Brown's experience demonstrates how pride, attachment, and the desire to project success can intersect with financial risk and relational complexity. It underscores the enduring truth that spaces and structures, no matter how grand, cannot substitute for authentic engagement, thoughtful planning, and relational investment. For audiences watching closely, the story serves as an educative reflection on the ways in which ambition, perception, and human emotion shape decision-making, providing a nuanced understanding of the interplay between material achievement and the deeper needs of family and self. In every detail of the home, from its expansive rooms to its over-decorated corners, the narrative conveys lessons about balance, sustainability, and the enduring need for alignment between aspiration and reality. Flagstaff is more than a city for Kody and Robyn Brown. It has become a symbol of ambition tempered by limitation, a living study in the consequences of choices that favor appearance over practical and emotional coherence, and a cautionary narrative that resonates far beyond a single household. Thanks for watching.